And right now on the UFC Gym hotline at 300 Waverly Avenue, Mamaroneck, we have Mick Foley on the line. Mick, how's it going tonight?
Hey, everything is going all right. Were you guys talking about me there?
Yeah, I was talking about you. I was reminiscing about my. I have to say, unfortunately, I haven't watched wrestling in a little while. But we actually talk a little bit of wrestling. We have a couple of guys do a podcast who come on the show every once in a while and kind of keep me up to date, tell me about Brock Lesnar possibly going to the UFC and all that good stuff. But Mick, growing up, you were the guy. You were the legend who I saw fall off the Hell in a Cell through the table, and it was literally the most amazing thing I've still ever seen to this day.
Well, I appreciate it. I was never the guy, but I was one of the guys, and I think in some ways that kind of like, in a weird way, it kind of makes the things you did a little more legendary, because you kind of felt like you were special seeing it. So, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was. I still feel that one today.
Yeah, I would think With what now? Are you still wrestling at all? Are you still doing anything like that? Because you've moved on to the comedy circuit, which I find interesting. You saw Mike Tyson kind of make a transition like that from boxing. He did the one-man show on Broadway, which is just freaking awesome. How has that changed for you?
Yeah, man. I'd say what I do is, it's a lot more like Mike's show than it would be like a stand-up comedy show. I do them at comedy venues because it works out like perfectly. Especially Levity Live's a great club. It's like perfect sound system. The audience there like fanned out. Like it's not a bad seat in the house. And I get up there with my stories, slightly exaggerated for dramatic emphasis, and then I just try to take people on the same type of ride, like a little emotional journey, that I used to do. So it's kind of like Mike's, but without any of the bad, not nearly the bad. I drop one F-bomb, in an entire show, and Mike does a few of them in a sentence. So that's a major difference.
And you're probably a little bit easier to understand when you're talking.
With no disrespect to Mike, because it was a great show, and it made, and it was nominated for a Tony Award. But I pride myself in the fact these are like my own stories. Like I don't have anyone writing anything for me. I don't have anybody directing me. It's just me on the stage, and I work. It's like when I wrote the books, except you take a story in a book, and it's only as good as the final version on paper, whereas, I take a story and bring it on the road, and you find different ways to do it. And so I've found ways to bring that Hell in a Cell story to life in a way that doesn't seem old. Like there's always a different way of looking at it and and part of the challenge, part of the fun is finding humor in a situation like that doesn't seem to be funny on the surface.
Yeah, Mick, how did you go about from going from writing about these types of things to bringing them on stage?
Well, you know what, the first book especially opened up a lot of doors for me because I suddenly was just asked if I wanted to speak at colleges. Like having that first book in 1999 that was so successful made me a credible speaker. And it was there that I was like, wow, this is great. This is like getting the same way that the writing was like, getting feelings out and getting reactions from the guys. I would read it to the guys in the dressing room, and it was like being on stage. It was like getting reactions without the obvious physical consequences of doing what we did in the ring. And so when I did the colleges, I was like, this is something I really like. When that dried up, I just thought, well, I can pursue this on my own without needing an invitation from a college. And now it's like as simple as, my agent calls up a club where I'll be, I'll be in the general geographic area. And because it's not a team of, there's no roadies, no crew, there's no catering. It's just me showing up in a rental car, walking on stage with my, with my stories.
Now, Mick, a lot of guys in wrestling, and I'm going to point out specifically Stone Cold and Chris Jericho, two guys who do podcasts. And I'm on the radio, so I really probably shouldn't be saying this, but if you're out there, go listen to those two guys talk. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's fascinating, some of the stories that they have when they talk. I'm a fan of Stone Cold's podcast just because he just it's Stone Cold talking. You know, like it just.
Man. He's got that voice. He's great.
Yeah, but have you ever thought about doing anything like that? A podcast? Maybe that's the next step for you to do a podcast or something along the lines of that.
You know, I have thought about it. And honestly, I did Stone Cold's podcast, and he was so good. The bar is pretty high. Like he really listens. I mean, that's the key to a successful interview. Is like really listening, and then he comes back with questions based on what you're saying. And he brings out really the best in the people that he's interviewing. I'm not taking like might seem like an easy excuse, but my brain got jogged, quite a bit, so the short-term memory isn't as good as it should be, and I could very well be like, "What? What did you just say?" Like, so I love being a guest on those shows, and I love you sometimes you come up with a story you hadn't thought of, and they're like, "Hey, I got to work on that and maybe make that part of the show." But I think the wrestling world is pretty well covered even without me. As a regular host of a podcast. If you hear water running, it's because I'm simultaneously making hot chocolate for the kids.
You got to make hot chocolate for the kids. I mean, you're something with Stone Cold when the podcast that you were on in particular, he was talking for 20 minutes about being a boat captain. Before, I don't know if you were there at that point, but just like I said, just listening to the guy just talking for that long, and I'm sure it's something that you would be, even though what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But if that was something that you got into, it seems like everything you touch kind of just turns into something good. You seem to have a very good grasp on that sort of thing.
Well, you know what? I think the key is like if you're going to do something, you go all out. When people see me on the stage, it's not like, well, he's just kind of trying it out. Like these are things that really worked hard at, and I've always tried to do that. Whether it was, a book, it was considered like no one even thought, and then of an athlete or a performer like writing their own autobiography. It was always just an as told to or a ghostwritten thing, and I was like, I think I can do a better job than that guy. I'm not afraid to try things. So and once I try them, I go all out, and I think people appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, and at that time, I don't remember did your first book, Have a Nice Day, come out before The Rock's first autobiography? Because I feel like yours kind of triggered a lot of different ones.
It came out, mine was the first, and I'm convinced that I was like kind of like the guinea pig because the other two guys were The Rock, and then Steve was lined up to go third, and then for whatever reason his book didn't come out for a few years, but at one point, I was lucky my book hit number one, and Rock's ended up hitting number one about 12 weeks later, and we were 1 in 3 on the bestseller list. Like, we were terrifying the literary world. They hated us, But we were getting a lot of kids, who didn't, not necessarily kids, but adolescents, young adults who didn't normally read, and some kids. And they were like, "Wow, we want to read about these guys." So it was a real positive thing.
No, trust me, it was kids because I don't want to make you feel old or anything, but when that book came out, I had the hardcover copy, like one of the first few days it came out, and my mom would read it to me as I was going to bed. As messed up as that sounds.
That is some stories there, there's some stories with some mature content in that book, but it was there were some nice messages in there, and people drew inspiration from it.
Well, Mick, you're going to be performing at Levity Live, the Palisades Center in West Nyack, March 15th at 7 p.m. That's this Sunday. You could still get tickets. Nick, where can we get tickets?
Easiest way is to go to my website, realmickfoley.com, and then you just find the link there, and it'll take you right over. I'm sure Levity Live has their own website too, but mine will take them right there. There's a meet and greet included at the end of the show. Last year was pretty packed, even in bad weather. This one's selling good, but I don't think you'll have too long a line when it comes to the meet and greet. So hope to see a lot of you guys out there. Yeah,
I saw Levity Live, first of all, is a really, really nice club. It's an awesome club, I'm sure, to perform at, but just it's a nice club to be at. I saw one of your buddies, Jim Norton, there not too long ago. Have you been on there? Have you been on Opie and Jimmy lately? I love your appearances on their show.
About 2 months ago I was on there. Yeah, I should inquire. They always say, "Hey, anytime," and then I only end up going on there once or twice a year. But they've always been great to me. I really enjoy those guys.
Well, Mick, before we let you go, I want to find out a little bit more about how this trip to WrestleMania contest that you do. You did it last year. You raised a lot of money. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, first of all, not to sound ignorant, but you guys are what, an MMA show?
We do MMA. We have the UFC gym as one of our sponsors. We had a gun store, the Blue Line Tactical, as a sponsor of the show. But we're more of like a local high school sports. We cover Pace University. We also have the Westchester Knicks on our station.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Oh, yes, I heard MMA as maybe it was exclusively. But one of the things that's cool about this, and I'll get to the tie-in a second. It's a raffle, which means instead of an auction, where only people with the top dollar, can get these items. This is kind of open to anybody. It's $2 for a ticket, for you buy a minimum of $5. So basically $10 gets you in the running to win what I try to make like the coolest vacation of all, ever. And we've done it last year. We did it in 2012. Last year was a guy from Tennessee. Before that was a guy from Scotland. Round trip airfare. They sit in a luxury suite at WrestleMania. They get good seats to the Hall of Fame induction, to WWE Access. $1,000 spending money, and we just keep adding stuff every day. It's like I want these guys whoever wins to be able to do anything they want. Like when they get there, like if there's any event, like. My kids pointed out, or one of my kids, like, Dad, it's physically impossible for them to do every event that you have there lined up. And I said, I know, but I want anyone with any interest in wrestling to be able to do exactly what they want to do. And the little MMA tie-in comes from the fact that, like, Leslie Smith, the young lady who nearly lost her ear a couple months ago. She's so sweet. Like every time she's really, she's retweeting my stuff. She's getting the word out, and so it's one of those things that makes people feel good. Like they're making a difference. All of the money, like 100% of the money after the expenses for plane fare and whatnot, goes to a group called RAIN, which is the largest anti-sexual assault organization in the U.S. And even being the largest, they run on like a really small budget compared to some of the really big charitable organizations. So last year we raised $112,000. That's by far like the biggest event, that they had last year. So it lets everyone get involved in something cool, make a difference, and we really do have winners, and they really do have the best time imaginable.
Yeah, that's great. And I was looking at your website earlier, and like you were saying, there's just a laundry list of prizes. Like I was going to start trying to read them, but I don't even know if I don't know if I could read all that. There's a ton that you can be in the running to win. But Mick, I want to thank you so much for calling into the show. You're welcome on the show anytime. Of course, I always have to say that, just hoping maybe you'll maybe listen to me one day, and
I'll come back another time. I love it there, man. First college girlfriend was from Rockland, so it's always cool to come back, and my college roommate will be there, so it'll be a great time. I love it. I'll be glad to come back on with you guys sometime.
Very cool, Mick. You're going to be Sunday at Levity Live, March 15th at 7 p.m. Mick, any other dates you want to talk about?
That's pretty much it. That's my last New York show of the year. People can always check out the website. That's where they can find out about the raffle too. RealMickFoley.com. And maybe I'll come out and do something. Check out the Knicks or something. Something.
I don't know if you want to
Westchester-ish or with you guys.
Yeah, Westchester Knicks might be more worth checking out than the New York Knicks at this point. By the way, how big of an NFL fan are you? Have you seen all this free agency stuff?
No, what's going on?
Oh, my God. Jimmy Graham got traded to the Seahawks. Scott, my producer here, lied to me and told me that the Giants signed Julius Thomas, and it turned out to be some completely different other J.T. Thomas person. It was very disappointing.
No, I haven't been paying attention, but thanks for keeping me up to date on it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Mick, thanks for calling in. We'll hopefully see you on Sunday again. If you want to get tickets, go to LevityLive.com. Mick will be at Levity Live in the Palisades Center in Nyack, March 15th at 7 p.m. Thanks again, Mick.
All right, thanks for calling. Bye.
We'll take a break. How cool was that, by the way? We'll take a break.
That was pretty sweet.